Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Always heavy on the sports here on this channel, on our podcast network, anything and everything that we do. But if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. And we appreciate you stopping in with us for a little bit just to hang out, talk about what's going on with Auburn football, anything else that you want to talk about. When we get together live, that is what we do, and we appreciate you being here. My name is Kyle. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the editor for the network. Obviously, you see my face and hear my voice the most out of all the people in there, which is probably much to the chagrin of everybody else. But here I am, and I appreciate you guys hopping on tonight on a live Wednesday night show. Now, here's what we're going to do this week. Typically on Wednesday nights, we always go live at 8 p.m. Eastern time for us to get together and potentially talk, hear from some of you all. We usually want to keep it open forum, and we can kind of still do that tonight. Still doing live callers. The headphones go on. Live callers is officially an option, so don't be shy. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second, but there is already a way you can take advantage of that if you want to call in. But tonight, I thought we'd just go ahead and do something that I've been wanting to do, and just kind of have our central focus topic on a preview for the Auburn-Akron game. So that's kind of where we're going to sit. I think that's where most everybody's minds are right now with it's game week, as a lot of you are already posting. And I think that's kind of the main thing that y'all are going to want to talk about anyway. Doesn't mean that these open forum shows are going away, but we might experiment a little bit and do a focus on this the next Wednesday nights, or we'll talk about it. We'll see what happens. Let's just see how this goes tonight. As you come into the stream, most of you know the drill. Some of you are already doing it. Post your city, your state, international if you're international, where you're watching from with a War Eagle. Let me know you're here, and love to see who is hanging out with me and talking tonight. If you like this type of content, we ask that you hit that like button. And if you can, take a second and share it on social media, wherever you're on, and feel free, a Facebook page, Twitter, anything like that. Let people know that we're live, that they can come in and join our discussion. It's always more fun. We have tons of people here tonight. Let me say hello to a couple people who are already here. Corey Benson in the house says, what's up, and War Eagle to everyone. John Stokes, a channel member, a Booster Club member. It's a pretty awesome dude. Thank you, John, so much for your support and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Russell Shoemaker in the house as well, and Wade Jackson. We got Texas and Wetumpka checking in already. A lot of people from around the country here, I'm sure, going to be tuning in tonight because everybody's super excited because it's game football week. Real quick announcement for the Booster Club members out there. Make sure that you check in the Patreon page /app that your financial stuff is up to date. There are a couple of you that we had to kind of reach out to because it was declined. If you want to stay active in the club, it has to kind of be charged and all that kind of, just a little bit of housekeeping stuff. I haven't seen anybody yet whose name popped up in that category, but if you are watching this and you see that, make sure you check that out if you can. We got, let's see here. Western Michigan beat Akron badly. We should comfortably win and get a quality backup experience. Hopefully. It's very true. Very true. Larry Davis, what's going on? Jackson's Gap, Alabama is here. Akron has been terrible in the past 2 years. They're definitely a below average group of 5 team, War Eagle. You know, I think that's the prevailing sense that is going to happen during this discussion tonight. I'm not coming into this saying that we need to make a serious conversation that Akron has a chance in this, but I think we need to maybe discuss areas where they might have an upper hand or something like that. I think you need to have a well-rounded conversation and not necessarily, they're just going to kill them, even though we are probably. I mean, it's the reality of the situation. But we'll talk about any of that. I kind of got some like little bullet points that I want to hit, but really, as we do on most of our live shows, and especially Wednesday nights, I want to hear from you. You can do that by posting here in the chat window. It's the easiest way you can do that. If you would like to tonight, I would love to hear from some of you live. You can do that by going in to the very top of the chat window up there, and you will see a chat link or a call-in link. If you click on that link, you will be able to call in live here, be on video or not on video. It can just be your voice because you can turn the mic or the camera off and all that kind of stuff if that is something that you're not comfortable with. But would love to hear some of you and just want to hear your thoughts, maybe even some questions from you about the game coming up in 3 days, 2 days, 3 days, something like that. Everything's running together at this point. I've got a lot of stuff going on in our life. We'll be sharing very soon. Good things that have made life very interesting and crazy. And when trying to prep for game week, on top of that, everything just kind of runs together. Yes, please. Thumbs up, everybody. Thank you for that. At least we'll be better. We'll be able to beat one Ohio team this year. Who says we won't beat more, right? Obviously, there's no more current ones on the schedule, but that doesn't mean that we won't see some others later down the line. Ohio State, maybe in the playoffs. Did Kyle just say we're making the playoffs? Listen, I've been very open and honest about my opinions about in previous shows when we previewed the whole season and stuff like that. What I thought the trajectory of the season was. I am in no way predicting a playoff team, an undefeated team, but I am saying this team has the potential and capability to do those things. So I would never put it completely past that. Saw something about Akron losing some primary running back. Yeah, I heard little rumblings about that as well. I'm not too worried with, their personnel, so to speak. And maybe that's me kind of putting them down so much. I will say there's one thing I do want to address with them. And I think that's probably one upper hand that they might have that we don't have necessarily to start with. It's not really going to amount to much, but it is something worth bringing up. From Bishop Sycamore. Is that Bishop, Georgia? Bishop Sycamore? What? I don't know where that's from. David's in the house from Kings Mountain, North Carolina. We got Georgia. We got North Carolina, Alabama, Texas, checking all over the Southeast. You guys are awesome for being here and hanging out with us tonight. All right, well, let's start out with this. Again, if you want to, please do take advantage of the call-in link at the very top of the chat window. Should be pinned up there. And if you need me to post that again, I will. I'll probably do it a little bit later. For those of you that don't know, Akron is from Ohio, and they are the Zips, and their mascot's a kangaroo. And we're weird for having tigers as our mascot and the battle cry of War Eagle. How you connect Zips and how you connect kangaroos, that's beyond me. That's almost as, asinine as Crimson Tide and elephants. Don't get it. But hey, to each their own. So I don't want to ever hear again about us having weird mascots and things when you've got Zips and kangaroos. It's really, 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 really weird. This is also the team that had Terry Bowden as a coach for quite some time, and he's moved on to greener pastures. And he, I don't know if you consider Louisiana Monroe greener pastures. Obviously, the Bowden family is still dealing with the loss of Coach Bobby Bowden. So, we're obviously thinking about that still. But how awesome would it have been to have Coach Terry Bowden return to the Plains and beat him? I don't know that this matchup would have happened with Terry Bowden still at the helm. My feeling, and, when I hear stories about talking about Terry Bowden and his relationship with Auburn, it's still pretty marred. It doesn't have the feel of the, Gene Chizik or even the Tommy Tuberville type of feel, where they're pretty much unanimously welcomed back. Everybody doesn't even worry about the bad stuff and all that kind of things for the most part. If you're holding on to that, let it go. But yeah, I don't know that Terry Bowden, we're going to see him back anytime soon. Maybe far off in the future, but not right now, not while he's still coaching. Don't think he wants to do that. It's a joke about fake high school football team that played IMG. I did hear about that. I just didn't read the story. So that's why it went right over my head and Beaten Lake. Bishop Sycamore. Potential is there for winning the SEC. We need the ball to bounce our way. Refs call equal games. Stay away from the injury bug. Play our potential. And you can win the ball. Preview over with. We're done. We're done here. Russell notched it all up. The season up in one little package there. I will agree with you that, Auburn does seem to have a little bit of the luck, but again, luck is where opportunity meets preparation, and you have to be ready to take advantage of those opportunities. Auburn did apparently twice last season. Depending on which fans you talk to. I think, Auburn will need a little bit of the ball bouncing their way this season in some areas to have a magical season. It's happened not just once, twice, many times before. Doesn't mean it won't happen again. But the foundation is there, but how low down is the foundation? Meaning, how much building up do you have to do to get to a level playing field with everybody else that's built up at this point? So that's the big question when we talk about overarching themes, overarching ideas about how good this team can be this season. That's a good way of kind of rounding it out there. Kyle, go. I have a feeling that Clint, if he may be watching, I don't know. Clint loves the Zips for some reason. That just seems like it'd be right up his alley, Corey. I don't know. Those are some weird names and weird mascot choices. So maybe he'll pop in later and share his opinions on that if he's available and watching tonight. I did have a potential guest might show up later in the show. So don't worry if you decide to call in. You can still call in and stuff, even if they're in here, but we might have someone potentially decide to call in, and that's you've seen before on here, and maybe discuss with us just a little bit about what they think about this week. All right, so Akron, the Zips. Two things you should know. They are returning 9 offensive starters, barring injuries, which we've already kind of hinted at that there are rumors out there about that. But there are also 10 returning defensive starters. So when you think about that, just on paper alone, Akron is in a much better place, technically, to start off with than Auburn. The problem is a lot like what we just did the analogy of, Auburn's got a great foundation. Just how far do they have to build up to get to where everybody is? So if, let's for, purposes of demonstration, let's say everybody else is up here, the Clemson's, Ohio State's, Alabama's, all that stuff right now. Georgia's maybe, they're kind of like right here. They're up here. Let's just say Auburn's here mid-tier. Akron's foundation's way down here. So that means they're competing at their best way down here. And this is just my opinion. I could be wrong, but they've got the 9 starters on offense coming back, the 10 starters coming back on defense. Normally, that's a really good way to start off the season. It should mean that they're set up to kind of get going real fast. Shouldn't be a lot of hiccups in knowing what they need to do, their identity. This coach has been, I think, around for 3 years now. So that is something that's going to play into their favor. But not enough, right? Because this is Auburn. This is the SEC. This is a night game in Jordan-Hare for the first time officially in a regular format and fashion in well over a year. It's time. They're not ready for the buzzsaw that they're going to run. All 9 of their offensive starters, all 10 of their defensive starters aren't going to make a difference in what's going to happen to them. Doesn't mean they're not going to have their own fireworks, but yeah, they're about to get hit real hard. Everybody needs the ball to a little luck and the ball to bounce their way. It includes Alabama and Clemson. Yeah, the difference is the type of bouncing that Alabama does is bouncing off the goalpost. It's the opposite type of luck. It's usually for everybody else. Everybody knock on wood that we don't have an Appalachian State, Michigan scenario and it doesn't happen. Listen. So I would agree. And here, you can clip this and post it for posterity if I end up being wrong, which is possible. I think you've got to look in that scenario. Appalachian State was an up-and-coming program, had been showing a trajectory of success. To my knowledge, Akron has not been showing that. They're still, a couple seasons into the new head coach. Well, not new, but their head coach who got there a couple seasons ago and haven't really showed a trajectory that is that impressive. Appalachian State has always kind of shown that upward trajectory, which resulted in them beating Michigan, beating someone else, I think, and almost beating a bunch of others, and eventually making it into Division I AA, and with us here now, they're part of our, the core 130 something teams that compete in the bowl system every single year. So they've shown the longevity. They've shown the ability to stay there. Akron Has not, in my opinion. But yes, you're right. Let's knock on wood that we're not jinxing ourselves right now. So that is honestly the best case that I can make for you on Akron being able to compete with Auburn. So the question really is, what are we going to see from Auburn? What are we going to see in terms of who's playing? How often are they going to play? Is there competitions and stuff like that? What's the strategy? There's a lot of things that are going to play into this. And one of those being, who we're playing next and things like that. You hate to use the scenario that you need to look forward because you can get caught looking too far forward and get caught in an Appalachian State, Michigan scenario. That Penn State game is looming large, and they've got to get things figured out right now. Honestly, I know some of you out there really, really want there to be a Bo Nix controversy and stuff like that, and you're going to be waiting on pins and needles for the opportunity. The first opportunity that you get to say, aha, I told you so. Let me just go ahead and warn you. Bo Nix is going to get sacked a lot. He might even fumble. He's probably going to throw a pick, but that doesn't mean he shouldn't be the starter. You're going to have to give this guy the next 2 games chance to get his feet under him again, trust this offensive line, them to build rapport with him to get his chemistry down with the wide receivers, and go into the Penn State game before we really make rash judgments on that. I know that's not the popular statement, and I know a lot of you are mad at that. I'm not pointing anybody out, but that's really what it's going to take before we can really make a hardcore, solid decision on the future at quarterback. A lot of people popping in now. Good to see all of you as you come in. Please do make sure you are hitting that like button, helping the stream out. Also, as a reminder for those of you that are just coming in, this is a call-in show. Links at the top of the chat window, but I posted it again right here in the kind of forefront. If you want to click on that, you can call in live, on camera or off camera. Talk to me, ask questions, make comments, derogatory rebuttal, as long as you behave yourself. Jacksonville State almost pulled it off in 2015, but they made it to the FCS championship a couple of years later. Listen, I was so worried about, I will never forget where I was when that ball went the way we needed to against Jacksonville State. I was at work. I know where I was at work. I imagine it right now. And then not just sigh, but the like, oh my gosh, relief that came from my being once I realized that we had secured that game and gotten out of that potential disaster of a situation. Jacksonville State was a pretty good team that year, but they shouldn't have been competing with Auburn. Let's see. Just got home from HOA meeting. There's nothing worse than those things, unless you have a good HOA. I don't know. This is much better. I can imagine, sir. Are meetings really ever fun? I just feel like there's not really a meeting that I was really enjoying going to. Personally, I can't really think of anything like that. I want to see what kind of magic Bobo has worked on Bo. Yeah, Corey, I think a lot of us want to see is Harsin by proxy too, because he's a quarterback guy. Are they going to be able to work their magic with him? Are they going to make a difference? I don't think you're going to, if you are going into this game expecting to see a magical Bo, you're not going to get it. This game is about getting the timing down, the rhythm down, the trust back, really solidifying, can this combination of Bo Nix and these offensive linemen work? And if they can't, can it work with TJ Finley? Can it work with Demetrius Davis? Even though I promise you're probably not going to see him barring injury in terms of significant time. Here is my hope for what happens. I hope that Auburn just comes out ablazing, 30 points in the first half. And Bo sees maybe one series in the second half, and then it's TJ Finley's the rest of the time. If he does well enough, Demetrius Davis has got 5 games before he loses eligibility. Let him play. Let's see what he can do in legitimate game time, not necessarily competitive game time, but legitimate game time. Actually out there full speed running. Bo Nix is going to have a 70 passing touchdown season. I don't know about that. Will he have a successful season? I believe so. And I believe he's going to have a really good year. But it's going to take a minute to get there. So it's going to require patience. Auburn family, patience. I know it's not in our DNA, but patience is what you must have. Peyton Barber won the Jack State game for us that year. Peyton Barber won us a lot of games. That guy just came out of nowhere and said, I'm going to be the star running back. And if he hadn't gotten hurt, who knows what. The amount of like running backs that had little short stints of success and then kind of went away is crazy. It just is, just think about that. I'm on the HOA board. I thought you were just attending the meeting, Neil. I didn't know that you were actually on the board. That's even worse. Because I was thinking bad about the HOA board guys. Now I've got to think that about you. Let's what do you want the strategy to be? How about that? Let's talk about that. What do you want Coach Harsin and offensively to do? And I'm not necessarily asking about which quarterback, because we know who's the starting quarterback, but I see two ways that they can approach the start of this game. They can start this game out by doing the simplest, and when I say simple, I mean like the most obvious thing, the thing that we know is going to have success, is just run Tank Bigsby up the gut. And go out, get that cushion, and then let Bo sling it around and get his timing down. I think logically, it makes sense to do that. But if we're still unsure, if the coaches are still unsure if Bo's the guy, why not just let him gunsling it from the very get-go? Throw him out there. See what happens. Because you've got the security blanket of knowing Tank will probably be able to do that. Do what he does, followed up by Sean Shivers. You've got a defense that's probably going to be able to hold that line for you. So why not play it a little risky? What do you got to lose? Next week is Alabama State. Again, not dismissing Alabama State, but it's Alabama State. It's a day game too. You're going to have this high of this building up to this week, this game, night game, and then you're going to come off that. It's going to be Alabama State, and Brad's going to be like, and it's a day game. Oh, it's going to be awful. Larry asked a great question. How many rushing yards for Tank Bigsby? I would like to see them keep Tank in check, meaning I would like to see no more than 15 touches for 100 yards. It's a pretty good stat line, and he can do it. I think that's probably what you're looking at. Don't want to put a lot of mileage on the Tank, even though he seems like he can take it. Did have an injury bug or two last year. But I think it's probably in the team's best interest, in his best interest, to let him go get his yards. It's a 100-yard game, 15 carries, get on out of there. Now, it depends on how the offensive line is blocking for him and the strategy and all that kind of stuff. Corey says 200 yards against Akron. And it's highly probable. What's a probable? Probable that he could do that. But I'd like to see him get out there before then. Wilson and Jack, college football, War Eagle, and welcome. Thanks for being here. Glad to see you here. We also got Doug Easom in the house. He is a channel member. Doug, thank you so much for your support. Appreciate it, my man. People probably say I'm a fool, but Tank for Heisman and Bo Nix is a dark horse for the Heisman. It is possible. There's nothing wrong with saying someone's a dark horse for the Heisman. It's a very easy statement to make, and nobody can really fight you on it because that means it's unexpected. And things have to go his way or bounce the right way. I will not call you a fool for saying Tank Bigsby. I said on our preview of the season show just a couple of days ago, I'm predicting Tank Bigsby is in New York for the Heisman ceremony, or if they do it virtually again, virtually in New York. He is one of the finalists for the Heisman. It depends on the year, who else is out there competition wise. Looks like Spencer Rattler is going to be up in that. Don't be surprised if you see JT Daniels up there as well. Trying to think of some other big names around. You might see people are going to try to say Corral, however you say his name, from Ole Miss is going to be there. Probably not, but a lot of people are putting their eggs in their Spencer Rattler basket. So, I could see a world where it's like a JT Daniels, Spencer Rattler, Tank Bigsby, 3 for maybe. Cam wants to see as little Tank as possible. Get up, get him out, and save McLean and Owen from playing so many snaps. So these guys are fresh for later to see McLean and Owen. I do think that keeping, you hear of like a pitch count for baseball, right? And I don't like that necessarily, but I think something like this, it's really important as the thing that's probably going to hold the offense together to keep that safe and secure. So I would say if I'm the coaching staff, I think that way. I'm turning the lights down a little bit for me. It's getting a little bright in here. Working off a headache too today. Hadn't been able to fight it off. Russell, power, run, conservative game plan, working in play action screens to get comfortable. Hey, Russell. I think if we see screens out there, which we've already seen, people are going to lose their ever-loving minds. If 2 things happen or don't happen, people are going to, if there's not a tight end thrown to in this game, and if there is a screen pass, people are going to lose their minds. It's a hard line to walk, but you can bet those 2 things. Well, I can bet one of those 2 things is going to happen. Bruton, Rodney, good to see you. Thanks for being here from Bruton, Alabama. A lot of people from Alabama tonight. David Osborne agreed. 12 to 15 carries for Tank, 90 yards. 90 yards is not a bad night on 15 carries either. Get some carries for Jarquez, Jordan, see what they can do, work in tight ends, establish some continuity with the wide receivers. I really think, honestly, that this is what the focus needs to be. It needs wide receivers and offensive line and quarterback need the work. That's really what it is. And I kind of waffle back. I give you my 2 scenarios. Run Tank out there, get the yards, get the cushion, and then work on throwing, or just run out throwing from the get-go. I go back on which of those is probably the right choice. I think right now it's probably better to just go out there gunslinging and use the run where you can, just to kind of go ahead and just throw it out there, let them figure it out from the get-go. Work out the kinks now. That's what I think. You want to see Hunter take some snaps? From what we found out about him in fall practice, I can probably bet we will see some Hunter snaps. Jarquez, Hunter. I have all the faith in Tank, but if we don't see a respectable passing game, teams will just load up the box and stop him. Now, the only way I disagree with you, Cam, is because they did that last year and it still didn't work most of the time on Tank, at least. With a few exceptions there. Listen, Tank is one of those running backs. He's going to get yardage in his yards to some degree with varying degrees of success, no matter what the situation, because he's just that type of talent. However, I do agree with you that it is important for us to go out there and establish a passing game, a reliable passing game that can support Tank and take some of the pressure off of him, because if he has more space, he has more room and flexibility to do what he does best. Not too many thoughts. I mean, I wasn't surprised, honestly. The question is Cam, any thoughts on Cam getting cut by the Patriots? I don't really, I mean, not surprised, and we'll see. I keep hoping, wishing, and believing that he's going to have that one last rebound kind of stint in the NFL, but it ain't going to be with the Patriots, and I don't know who else it's going to be with. Is it storming in Auburn? Rodney, good question. I think it was storming yesterday, if that's what you're asking about. I'm in Georgia, so the storms have passed us, and I believe they've passed Auburn now at this point. I think they're like up in North Carolina, Virginia area now. Let's see. More wide running back screens instead of 1,000 wide receiver screens. We needed more running back screens for years. Running back screens require a little bit of offensive lineman blocking, especially out in the flats. It's depending on what you do, what set you use, what your actual play is. But I don't know if I think that potentially that's going to be the best option for us. Eventually, yes, you should work all angles of that into your repertoire. This is a multiple style offense under Coach Harsin. So I think they really should try to work every facet they can. Is that what's best for this game? I don't know. Listen, the thing is, you're playing a team that you should on paper not just beat but destroy. You've got flexibility to try things, and you might want to put a bunch of things on paper or really on tape for all the other teams to start preparing for. The more you give them to prepare for, that was what Coach Malzahn was good at, was giving them a lot of crazy things to prepare for, especially screens. But it's there. I really flip flop on what the strategy should be coming out of this game, and we'll just have to trust in the coaches. Chris, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Glad you're here hanging out with us. Storms in Virginia. Oh man. Wow. So you're from Virginia. I hope everybody's staying. I know it's not as bad as Louisiana, Mississippi, lower Alabama, all that, but hope everybody's still staying safe, because that wind was nasty up here in Georgia yesterday. And but wow, what a beautiful day today. Just warm enough, like just on the verge of sweating if you were out there, but like still a slight breeze in the air. It was almost like fall arrived on September 1st. And let me give you guys, for those of you that don't know the trajectory of the South, it amazes me every single year everyone forgets this in the South. We go through a period where we have a fake out of like a cold snap, not even a cold snap, a cool snap. And everyone's like, oh, fall's arrived. No, this is when you need to be preparing for the heat. It is coming. 2 weeks out, I've looked, it's like in the high 80s. I think maybe you might get in the 90s one day in Auburn. That's not the heat. The heat's coming. Just you wait. And I'm not talking about Auburn football. Cam going to the Cowboys. I will support Cam wherever he goes. I just don't really have any thoughts, any thoughts that I can contribute to that on. Do you see Drayson Miller eventually becoming the other starter on the other side of McCreary, along as Capers or Canyon over Shed Jackson? I guess there's a two-part question there. McCreary's counterpart. I know the coaches talked very highly of Drayson Miller, and I remember he had at the open practice I went to a major wallop of a hit on somebody later in the practice, which shows you kind of where he's at in the depth chart. But I don't know. I wish I had a better answer. I think the one opposite of him is Roe Terrence. Is that right? Can't remember who that is. It could be. He seems like a pretty good talent. I just, I find it interesting that he hasn't won the starting job yet. In terms of Capers, Canyon over Shed Jackson, why are you dismissing? Why, but like, are you dismissing Shed Jackson? Shed has literally just put the work in to impress not only his teammates, his coaches, but the coach. And you couldn't get higher praise from Harsin early on than Shed was getting, working back from an injury. And I'm ashamed that I even doubted him. When I made my top 10 video here on YouTube, or not top, but the ranking the wide receivers video, I bought into the hype and I put Capers and Canyon up there high, and look what's happened right now. Capers is up there. Seems like he's gonna get some time, but Canyon's nowhere to be found. Speculation on why that is, back and forth, depending on who you listen to, who you put stock in, all that kind of stuff. I think it really just amount to is other people have outperformed. I think it's been a surprisingly competitive wide receiver offseason, and I think that has really benefited some others more than Canyon. So will we see that at some point? Canyon, here's the thing you got to remember, and I fell victim to this too. Canyon had one great game, the bowl game. He needs a bigger body of work before you put more trust and faith in him. We'll find out. Joe War Eagle, man. Hey, I sent you a update in the Patreon over there at the Booster Club. Go check that out tonight if you can. Just want to give you a heads up. Thank you for being a Booster Club member and a channel member here. Let's see. If Cam goes to the Cowgirls, I'm done with him. Not a Cowgirls fan, huh? Our offensive line isn't bad as people make them out to me, but Bo Nix gets a pass. I disagree, Imani. I completely disagree. Bo Nix does not get a pass. I mean, he's the one that's getting the heat from everyone. The offensive line as a unit is not getting the heat that they probably deserve. However, let me just say this. It's much easier to put the blame on one person than a unit, because you can just point one finger at there as opponent pointing five at a whole line thing and trying to explain all that's going on. Bo Nix is not getting a pass. The most hated individual on the team now is Bo Nix. Everybody's there's half the team that doesn't believe, well, I shouldn't say that. There's half that believe in Bo Nix, half that don't, and of that half that don't, there's the half that's actually wishing him to fail, and I hope you're not one of those. There's actually, in the other half, that kind of are, don't believe that he can do it all together. So I just really, listen, I get that there's this idea out there that he's, just because his dad was a quarterback means that's not the case whatsoever. He is the best option at quarterback right now, and you're going to have to get used to that until TJ Finley can prove that. And you can't blame him for every little bad thing that happens. It's going to take some time. We're going to have a little patience with him and whoever else, with TJ Finley too, when he gets out there and he gets his opportunities. Because if you think he's not going to go out there and gunsling, you didn't watch last year enough LSU game. So it's just going to take a little bit of time. Out of all the guys who returned at wide receiver, Kavers and Canes are the only ones who caught touchdowns from Bo. Seems like Shed Canyon. Wow. Jackson dropped more big passes than catches, but hopefully he's improved. I think that's a great way to look at it. So the knock on Jackson is injuries and drop passes, and I agree 100% with those. I think the injury thing I'm a little bit more concerned about, because I think he's probably realizing this is my senior year, got to make this count. I think he's going to be the unsung hero of the wide receiver core. Not to say that he's going to be leading in catches, touchdowns, all that stuff, but he's going to be one of those solid guys that you can count on. And kind of like, in some ways, Cody Burns became. He was not a traditional wide receiver, but he would make a pass, or not make it. He would hit the passes that were thrown to him most of the time and throw up some good blocks and things like that. He's going to be really, really good for this offense. And just because they caught touchdowns from Bo doesn't mean that they're going to be the guys this year. I hope they are, because I believed at one point too that was the two right there. Starting to question that a little bit. But we'll see. We're all we're doing right now is speculating. We're going to have a lot more answers in 4 days' time, counting Sunday, when we can process everything and talk about it. Speaking of, as a reminder, we're going to get together probably on Monday nights at 8:00. If you guys would prefer a different time on that day, let me know, and do our review of the game and talk about that. And then Wednesday nights right now, we're probably going to use those live call-in shows for those type of things. If you want to call in and stuff like that. Speaking of which, as a reminder, don't be shy if you want to call in. The lines are open. Hit the link in the very top of the chat window, but also right here where I posted it now. If you want to call in, say hello, make a comment, drop a question, all that kind of stuff. Do not be shy. I wouldn't say he's going to throw 80 touchdowns. You said 70 earlier. Keep going up. I don't necessarily agree with that. Anybody got any questions on defense? We talked about Drayshawn Miller. I hope that he can become the guy on the other side of him, because that's kind of what he was brought over here to be. But, here's the thing I feel really good about is that depth at defensive back. It looks like we've got a lot of great options there. Looks like we've got a really reliable, from what seems like, linebacker core, and a very talented defensive line unit that will probably need a little bit of time too, and a little bit of patience. But given the right ingredients together, it can amount into something really, really special. How about this? Let's quick poll of the room. Everybody right now, put it in the chat window. How many points, not your score, just the points, does this defense give up to Akron? Let me know what you think right now. Larry, I predicted vanilla offense Saturday night. Why is that, Larry? why do you think that there's going to be a vanilla offense? I don't necessarily think, I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just curious why you would think that. Felix says 0. By the way, Felix, did I miss you popping in, man? Good to see you. Good to see you on here, my friend. Let's see. Where is, you know what? I just realized a lot of my little icons for all the channel members and stuff like that is just not popping up, which is really interesting. I find that very strange. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit of back end work while you guys are talking about. There it is. Okay, I see it now. Felix is a channel member. Thank you, sir. And a Booster Club member. Appreciate your support. We got 10 for Corey. We got 10 for Russell. 7 for David. Rodney, 7. -3 for Unbeaten Lake. John's got 3. Rodney's got 14. And Felix has 9-3 overall. So I will say I'm gonna throw out 13. Here's why. I don't think they're going to score. I think they'll probably score 1 touchdown in the first half. Maybe just a field goal. They're going to get a score in the first half because there's going to be a mistake, things like that. It's the first game of the season. They're going to get the rest of their points in the second half, probably the fourth quarter, where we're really rotating people in, trying to figure out who fits where. Excuse me, I keep like burping tonight. Fits where and try to get people some reps. That's where their points come from. I don't necessarily agree that there's going to be a vanilla offense, but I don't think they're going to pull out all the stops. And I think it's going to be completely wow. I think it's going to be a lot of just run down the middle with Tank and try to be a little bit more flexible with our passing routes and things like that, and opportunities, really kind of hone that up. So from a vanilla standpoint, that's probably where I kind of agree with Larry. Build a base and add each week 10 points for Akron. I think 10 points is a solid guess. I think you need to be prepared for Akron to score a touchdown and a field goal. I'm giving them a second field goal because I just think it's likely by the end of the game, given what usually happens in these types of games. And of course, Imani says, I pick us to win the national championship. Let's see. 13 points, Joe says. 13 points. I do think 13 points. All right, let's put it all together now. Some of you already have done it. Full scores. Offense. How much does the Auburn offense score right now? Put it together with the points allowed. What do you think the final score is going to be? I think I threw out in our season preview live stream 38-13, and I'm going to stick with that right now. I think probably by the end of the first quarter, you're looking at probably a 17-0. Well, maybe like a 17-3 or 17-7 score, with Auburn pulled away to like a 30, really probably like a 28 or somewhere close to 30 points by the end of the first half, and they don't score too many else in the second half while they rotate people in. Is that game tomorrow? Wow, I didn't realize that was tomorrow. UCF and Boise. I'm gonna pick Gus. I know that makes some of y'all mad. I'm gonna root for Gus. Sue me. Don't sue me, please. Be mad at me if you want to. I don't get the hate for Gus Malzahn, and I'm gonna root for the guy I'm gonna root for some of our former players, despite what some of you guys may have feelings about them. I'm not mad at them. They don't want to be here. I don't want them here, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna hate them for it. Second half, where we run up the score. See, I don't think it's going to run up in the score in the second half. I think it's run up in the first and then bear it, or not necessarily turn it off, but just because of the situations, there's going to be less scoring. 42-3, 48-7. Back it up. 70 to -3, 55-10. 42 points. Total 48-10. I think, yeah, it can get that high. I just don't foresee it, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think 38-13 is probably where I'm going to put my final guess on that. Got to give them at least 10 points so they don't feel bad about themselves. That's fair argument. They are getting paid to come here and get their butts whooped, so gotta give them something, right? I have to watch them it's on ESPN. There'll be a lot of people watching that game. A lot of people wanting them to fail. It is almost fall. It felt like it a slight bit today, especially this morning up here in northeast Georgia. And it was lovely, but do not be fooled, my friend. Do not be fooled. Now, okay, this is a new name here, but I know we've seen you before, sir. You changed it to the Weird Calvinist. But remind me of your name. Why am I know that avatar. I do. I just can't place it with the new name change. That's what throws me off on YouTube is people change their names all the time. Offense will score 49 points. Defense will add a pick 6. I think that's a good pick. I'd like to see, and I think you might see like a fumble return or a pick 6, something like that. Here's what I need. I need one breakaway Tank Bigsby touchdown run, like 40 yards or more. I need a Anders Carlson, like 48, 47-yard field goal to make me feel good about his distance and accuracy this year. And I need one pick 6 from one Smoke Monday to get me started. That would be really, really. I knew that was Stan. I knew it. I'm sorry. It just threw me off. It's going to take me a little bit to register that when you change your name. But hey, you do you. Roddy says, I can't believe Gatewood went to UFC. Why? I can. Every other Auburn player that left Auburn went there. I fully believed it. I was waiting on it. I was just like, why is he even waiting on this? Just go to UFC or UCF. We'll see if it sticks. And for all those people that were saying Gus just chose Bo over Gatewood because of his daddy, no, you don't. You think Joey Gatewood would have come to go Coach Malzahn's program if he didn't like the guy, didn't think he would give him a fair shake? It's always funny to go back, and I'm not trying to get on the pedestal again, but here I am, to go back and see all these people that were saying these awful things and just see they won't ever eat crow in public, but this is why you should be very careful with the things that you say about players, because some of these things would just never be said, and coaches too. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to point out. Unbeaten Lake, how does Boise do without Harsin? If they do really well and actually beat UCF, I mean, it's hard to tell at that point, it's first game of the season, but that could be a really good foundation to be a really good testament that, hey, we did make a good hire. You know, because UCF's got some pretty decent talent. They brought in some new talent with Coach Malzahn there. So I think that would be really good to see them do well. Would be a good confirmation for Auburn fans and the Coach Harsin hire. Back it up. Calvinist. I did not endorse that statement, but hey, it's funny. I think everybody's weird. How about that? Rob, what's good? Good to see you, man. Gatewood will do great at UCF. Wish him the best. I don't know if is he eligible to play right away? I can't remember. 55-16. That's a lot of points. Let's see here. Alan Green to UCF. I don't know that Alan Green going to UCF happens because that's the guy that fired you. You think Gus is going to want to let that happen again? Gus is the guy at UCF now. I don't think you want the guy that fired you to come there and be your boss again. Oh, it could be wrong. But in terms of your question, meaning will Alan Green go somewhere else in the nearest future? Probably so. I'd bet we would wait for the new president to be found. By the way, if you didn't know, Auburn just again began its search for its next president after what's his face from Iowa State failed and moved on. And then we brought in the Gouge back. And now he's ready to retire officially again. So I would bet after that, we'll see Alan Green move on to greener pastures. Brandon Seal, good to see you. Kingsport, Tennessee. I'm happy with a W, no injuries, no turnovers on Saturday. I personally would like us to get a turnover because I'd like to see how we respond to it. I think this is one of those games where that's a good test of that. Now, I'm not wishing for it to happen, but if it does, I'm going to be eager to see how we respond. If it's a fumble by the running backs, let's say Tank, heaven forbid, fumbles. Does he go back out there and has a great ball security the rest of the game? If Bo throws a pick, is he more accurate? Is he going to be more timid? I think in this type of game, those can tell you a lot more about your team than just having a clean slate across the board. But injuries, yes, that's key. Don't know that it's going to happen, though. It's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Carlson should not kick until the fourth quarter. I mean, if he's not going to kick to the fourth quarter, that means we haven't scored a touchdown. I know what you mean, man. No, I'd like to see him kick as often as we need him to, because the more reps he gets, the more accurate and the more ready he is for when we really, truly need him. I saw that Seth Williams got cut by Denver. I hate to say that it's not that I'm not surprised. I just, Seth, I think, left a little bit too early. I understand why he left, but I still think he left too early. And I do think that he's going to, unfortunately, now be one of those guys that struggles to find a home. I was really hoping he'd make it work there. It seemed to be a good fit with some of the other wide receivers that he kind of learned from that are already there established. It's very sad to see that didn't work out. So 35-14, Auburn, is that bad? No, I don't think that's a bad score. I think people will spin it that way. Listen, here's what you can count on. Certain journalists are going to, if you haven't figured out by now, there are certain journalists out there that are trying to just get a reaction out of you because they know it gets them clicks. Stop giving them clicks. They'll stop doing it if they know you won't click. They're going to spin the story. If it is something like 35-14, lackluster debut for Coach Harson's coach, that's what's going to happen. And they'll spin it somehow. It has to do with vaccines and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm going to get censored because I said vaccines and all that kind of crap. But anyway, 35-14 would not be a bad one. It's just probably not what people are hoping for. I have not been paying attention to that at all, but yeah. I love the we've got a weird side conversation going on here, religious conversation. Y'all have at it. I'm gonna let y'all do that there in the chat window. Yeah, unbeaten. Like, I do think that if Coach Harson's former team does well, it is a good, it's like a small confirmation, but you shouldn't look at it as a solid confirmation because that's not his team anymore. There's new players there that he did not bring in. There's, a new system, that you should not make a solid judgment one way or the other. But if they if they did very well, that should be a good feeling that you should take from it, but just not like, oh, Auburn's solid now. You will not know if Coach Harsin was a solid hire, in my opinion, until 5 years down the line. It's the way it should be for every coach, but we don't get that often. No, they do not play UCF in the future currently, provided bowl games or scheduling. That won't happen unless it's a bowl matchup. Bowl matchup is probably going to be tried to make it happen if it can work out and stuff, just because they know people will eat that up. But yeah. Live in Orlando, he's a hero. Yeah, I bet. He's living the life down there, the grandpa in Disney World. It can't get much better for him, honestly. UJ versus Clemson. I have Georgia getting beat by Clemson just because when I did a pick 'em recently, I couldn't have them going undefeated. So I gave them the loss to Clemson. I think Clemson will beat them, but we'll find out. Let's see. Yeah, look, if Seth goes to the CFL and has success, we should applaud him for that. Like, it's not a knock on him. Obviously, you want to see him have success in the NFL, but that kind of feels like the route that usually happens in these types of stories, right? Matt says, I'm done clicking here. Well, fine. I just hope the offense does its part and not rely on the defense to save us. Doubt this will be the case in the first 2 games, but I hope this is the case for the entire season. Yeah, I really would like us not to get into that ugly cycle again that happened last year and some other seasons at times too. I think, if Kevin Steele were still here, he'd be used to that and probably be able to adjust, but I would like for that trajectory to stop as well. Rob says, disappointed if we don't score more than 45. I mean, I understand that, and I'm hoping for that, but That's a lot of points to score in your first debut against, we're not playing, well, I almost said Jacksonville State, but we see how that worked out. We're not playing North Alabama. Those type of points aren't a given unless you're playing Alabama A&M or things like that. He needs 3 years to build. I give him 5 because I think they need to get their 4 classes through the system and then have that 5th one arrive and see how they do, because that's a complete work through. You will have a good idea of what a coach is going to do in that time, personally. Yes, it is a great crowd tonight. We're almost at 40 live. Please do smash that like button if you haven't already, especially on your way out. I know a lot of you are probably going to head over to War Report here in just a little bit, but please do smash that like button. We've hit 40 before, but yes, it is a great crowd tonight, and that's all in part to you guys. We all hate for UGA to lose every game. Lots of Alabama players cut as well. Happens a lot more than people think. Oh, great question, Joe. Okay, yeah, real quick. I understand a lot of you want to go over to War Report and stuff like that. Please, if you do, head over there. Tell them we said War Eagle and hello. But we'll answer some more questions in a second. Let me tell you guys a little bit about what we'll be doing this weekend and what to expect. Here is your strategy for success for following our content on game weekend and game day. I am planning to be on campus, hopefully Friday, for the reverse Tiger Walk. I cannot guarantee that for a couple of reasons. Some scheduling stuff for myself, and Wi-Fi and COVID restrictions and all. I don't know if they're going to not allow us to go up there, but typically you can go welcome the team or send the team off as they leave to go to the hotel for the weekend. So I'll do a live video if I can, provided all those things line up. That is my goal. I might even be at the volleyball game Friday night, because that's free to get into as well. So if you're going to be on campus, here's what you can expect on Friday. I will be on campus as early as possible and doing social media posts and all day. I will post periodically on Facebook and Instagram where appropriate. But if you want up to date, just sharing pictures and photos and things going on campus, I will do that on Twitter and our Facebook and Instagram stories. So please do follow along if you can, and stay tuned here for the live stream, because I'm going to try to broadcast live for you. Not just Tiger Walk, but the Four Corners pep rally that happens very quickly after that. So stay tuned here on the YouTube channel as well. There's a lot that we're going to be doing, and then I'll be in the stadium, and I'll be for the game and stuff like that. So I won't be doing a lot of posting myself, because of probably who knows how the Wi-Fi is going to work with everybody there. It was fine in stadium with like 10,000 there. We'll see how 80,000 does. And then do some things after that. And probably I'll be going home that night. But Friday through Saturday, a lot of content coming for you from Auburn, from game day. It's going to be super, super exciting. Meetup spot. So typically I like to set up a time and a place where I'm going to be for, like, say, an hour. And I'd love to have some of y'all come say hello. Come just, I'd love to meet people in person if you're comfortable with that. Usually it's on, I say, the right there on the Sanford lawn, right across from J&M bookstore. That's probably what it's going to be, because that seems like a very central location. Everybody can go get a Toomer's lemonade or go to J&M and stuff like that. It's just, it'll depend. This is the first week trying to get things back in gear here, but to answer your question, Joe, that's what you can expect. Nothing set in stone just yet, but that's where I would probably do a meetup, and it'd probably be, Tiger Walk's 2 hours before kickoff, which is 6. So that'll be at 4, which I would probably say like 2 o'clock or something like that. I would do the meetup, but we'll see. Corey says, no, War Report only. Kyle, the king of Auburn knowledge. Listen, I appreciate that, Corey. Really, I do. And I'm not. I am simply a guy that loves to meet with the Auburn family and share my love of all things Auburn with you all. And so I appreciate the compliment, but there are some other great people out there that do this type of stuff too. But you're too kind. Let's see. Let me back up here and answer some last questions. Hotel, they'd never announced that. They don't want people mobbing them. So, we'll see. Never been to an Auburn game. You need to get there. This will be a good one to come to, even if you can't get in this, just to come to campus. It's going to be an all-day affair on campus, tailgating, all the good stuff. I'm super excited for it. I agree, it is an amazing experience. All right. We're going to sign off for tonight. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. On your way out, please check out some of those links in the description for ways you can help support our content here. You can join the Booster Club at patreon.com/E2C Network. For $1 a month, get some really great perks. That's the best experience if you really want to support and get some perks for yourself. You can become a channel member here, like so many people, like Felix, like John, like I think, who is it? Rodney, not Rodney, but anyway, there's several of you on here that have become channel members. $1 a month is all it takes here, and it helps produce this type of content. Thank you guys so much for doing this. I'm excited. You should be excited. Game week is here. It's live. Get pumped. We're going to get a win. The Harsin era is at hand, folks. And I am super excited to bring it to you this year. Thank you guys again. Smash the like button on the way out.